Lauren Ash plays Dina Fox, the direct and full-on manager at the big box store in the NBC series Superstore. I'm Matt Noel here of Gold Derby, here to ask Lauren, how are you most like Dina?
You know, I am like Dina in a few ways. I am definitely a rules follower, so I'm just not a psycho about it like she is. So for me, it's like I believe rules are there for a reason, and if they're there, then maybe they should be abided by because, you know, there could be a bigger picture situation involved. Now, am I going to tackle someone to the ground that doesn't follow the rules? No. Is Dina going to do that? Absolutely yes.
Yeah. And it's in its fifth season. You've done 5 seasons of this show. What for you has changed the most over the course of those 5 years?
You know, it's been so interesting because it feels like it's gone so quickly, but it also feels like a complete lifetime. I think what's been really cool is in terms of playing Dina as a character, I think we've really got to see a lot of different sides of her. She's got to kind of have a nice kind of growth arc, if that makes any sense. So, you know, I often say I feel like season 1 Dina would not have helped Mateo at the end of season 4 try and evade ICE. But season 4 Dina, you know, felt beholden to him. And even though she wanted to follow the rules, she also, you know, has love for her coworker and friend. And so I think it's been really cool to kind of get to see her over the course of these 5 years kind of be a real person and have real emotions. I always say she's not a sociopath. She does have a heart. She does have feelings. She's just a bit eccentric, you know, in the way that she lives her life. So it's been cool. You know, we've got to do some emotional stuff. The friendship with her and Amy, obviously, we've had some cool moments. She battled with some PTSD after the tornado. We got to see her meet her dad in season 5. I mean, it's been a journey for Dina, and it's been fun to go on with her.
In season 5, what was the biggest challenge for you as an actress?
You know, it's interesting because I think we are a half-hour sitcom. We air in prime time. Must-see TV, actually. Very historic. But, you know, I have kind of these feelings. Like a good example would be, you know, the episode where Dina does get to meet her dad. And obviously for 5 seasons, we've built up that her dad had abandoned her at a gas station when she was a kid. And she hadn't seen him in years. And so for me as an actress, it's kind of like trying to find where the line is that is not too dramatic because we are a comedy show, but also honors what the emotional state of that character would be in an experience like that. So I found that was probably the biggest challenge I had this season was really kind of trying to see, like, you know, how far can I push it? How much emotion can I show while we still are kind of keeping a lightness that you have on an 8 o'clock show? That's a half-hour comedy. But also I will say that even though that was a big challenge, that was also very rewarding and fun. It's nice to kind of get to try to do different things and get to show different emotions and do something that's like a little bit more dramatic, especially when you're playing kind of an eccentric character. I think it's rare on TV that we get to see those characters have real moments. So it was a challenge, but it was an accepted challenge.
And like, yeah, you do those sort of like in that episode, particularly real moment. There's also fun physical sort of comedy where you get hit by cars and things like that. What's the most fun thing you've gotten to do on the show this year?
Ooh, that's tough. Yeah, for some reason, I'm always the go-to that ends up being like hung from a crane as though I'm flying from a helicopter. I'm the one who's like army crawling or getting hit by cars. And then I found out that other people have stunt people do their stunts for them. And I was like, that's interesting. Because I mean, there's always a stunt person available, but I feel like I'm always kind of thrown into the fire, especially getting hit by that car this season. Man, that was rough. But the most fun, I mean, there's so much physical stuff that's so fun on the show. It's so hard to choose. I feel like anytime I talk about the show, and I've said this for 5 years, I feel like people must think I'm being disingenuous, that it's like, really, okay, sure, they have that much fun every day. But we really do. Like, it's just been such a a gift of a show and a job. I mean, when you're an actor, you are hoping to get a network television job for a multitude of reasons. It's helpful in your career. It's a nice paycheck, all of the above. But rarely, I feel like, do you also get to feel like you're creatively collaborating on the project, that you're bringing something to the table, that you're making lifelong friends in real life, that you get to hang out with every day. I mean, it's just a joy. I will say I really, a highlight for this season for me was getting back into the Dina cop costume. We do it once a year since season 2, and it never gets old for me.
Yeah. What's the most daunting stunt you've had to do on the show?
Getting hit by the car was for sure the most daunting one. Yeah. It's funny because I've been hung from the ceiling a few times between season 1 and 2. We did this Olympics special episode, and at the end of the episode, Dina's flying in as though she's hanging on a rope ladder from a helicopter. And I don't have a fear of heights at all. And I legitimately wasn't scared of that. I will say that because of the way my body was like holding the ladder, I ended up with a giant black bruise from like my knee to basically like where my hip meets my body. It was literally just like 12 inches of black and blue. And it was really just from like holding on as a giant wind machine was blowing me around in the air. But even that, that kind of injury, even though it wasn't so bad, that's less daunting than a moving vehicle coming at you. I will say that was a bit of a mind trip for me, because I know logically that the car will stop, and I know that there's a trained stunt driver. I understand all that. But in the moment, as I was running, holding a box over my head, and it's out of my periphery, like the car is coming like this. I mean, that was tough. That was a hard one. There was a couple takes where I didn't do the stunt, and I was like, I psyched myself out. But we did it a bunch of times, and I craned my neck pretty hard on the last hit onto that mat. Did you know you can sprain your neck? I didn't, but you can.
Oh, there you go. There you go. What a fun way to learn that lesson.
Fun way,
Yeah, you talked about the collaborative nature of the series, and you also talked about how you're on a must-see primetime series on NBC, and NBC has a great tradition of ensemble comedies, from Cheers to The Office, and you're continuing on in that proud tradition. How does your background in improv help? Because you've done work with Second City. How does that help you be part of an ensemble comedy show?
I mean, for me, this has been, if Second City was like my college education, this is like the direct application of that education. I improvise every day on this show, almost every scene. We always get the scene as scripted. The writers often also come in with lots of alt jokes, different jokes for, to try in different moments. But then also, like, we kind of have the freedom to improvise. And so from the beginning, I was improvising a ton, and from the pilot even. And Mark McKinney and I, in the pilot of Superstore, there's a scene where we're in the break room and we're talking about meth, and that we have to be more smart about how we're selling cold pills to people. And we had this like back and forth where in the moment, I think we honestly improvised for like 8 or 9 minutes, and they just let the cameras roll, and then they cut, and it was like, oh my gosh, like this was unbelievable. And they ended up using a chunk of it in the pilot, which was so cool. And I think it really kind of set the ground to go into this series, because that kind of suggested to us that it was like, they're open to us improvising, and they're encouraging it. And if it's funny, they'll use it. So, throughout all 5 seasons, I improvise every day at work. And so I'm very grateful that I have kind of the background that I do. And I'm also like excited that I get to kind of implement a skill. That's like, again, that's rare. I've been on other shows where it's like, you try to improvise and they're like, okay, yeah, that's cute. Why don't you stick to the script? So Superstore, yeah. And it really does kind of feel like you're creatively collaborating. It feels like you're creating something together. And I think often people talk to me about the show and they say like, oh my gosh, there's just such this great energy. Like there's a great like intangible quality. And I really think that is part of what that is. It is that kind of, you can't create something that's happening spontaneously. Like you can't act that. I don't believe. And so I think it's been like a really cool showcase to get to kind of use those skills. And listen, Mark McKinney is like comedy royalty, and he improvises a ton. Colton Dunn is an amazing improviser. He improvises a ton. And everybody else too, even actors who aren't improvisers. By now, we've got them improvising in scenes all the time. And America has gotten a lot better about not breaking. So that's been really fun over the last couple seasons.
Yeah. I just thought of this, like the interesting thing, like with your improv background, you'll do like an improv show and the audience is there and you'll see what works, what doesn't work. And it just is all part of the show. Whereas for a network series like Superstore, any series really, you're throwing stuff out there and you don't know which things you're throwing out there make the final edit, what the audience actually gets to see. Is that a weird sort of thing, tuning into an episode, not knowing which bits that you've done make the final cut?
I find it exciting. Like I know that some actors don't like watching themselves. I get excited to watch the show for that exact reason. I want to see what did they use. Also, from like a nerd kind of good little actor standpoint, I'm also like, I want to see what jokes they've used. So then if I remember, I improvised something about, getting kicked out of the military and they didn't use it, then I know that that's still kind of in my back pocket, that if at some point, it comes to me in the moment again, like, oh, this is the place to use this joke, I know that joke is still available to me. So I think it's fun. Like I get excited to see what kind of takes they use and which jokes they use and kind of like getting to keep track. I'm also like a weird comedy encyclopedia. Like I'm somebody who, like, when I was at Second City, I was the same way. It's like I have this like knowledge of like scenes I've seen before or jokes I've heard before. And so I like to like it's all a science. You know what I mean? I'm just like a mathematician, like keeping track of all the problems.
What's your favorite comedic scene of all time? Or maybe a particular comedic scene that's been influential in your career?
The number one performance throughout the film was Madeline Kahn as Mrs. White in Clue. And the scene, the iconic scene, of course, is when she talks about how she killed Yvette, the maid, and she does the whole thing about, I hated her so much. It's like flames on the side of my face. I know every word of that movie. I could literally recite it top to bottom, but her performance in that movie, and specifically that scene in that movie, like that was, I remember the moment when I saw it and I went, oh, I want to do what she's doing. Like that was like a pinnacle moment for me.
Now we don't have time, but if you were to go through the whole movie line for line, with would you just randomly pick one of the endings? What would you do?
Great question. I think the final ending is the one. I liked the other two, but I think the one where kind of like they all did it, I think that was really the closure and the button that as viewers we were hoping for. Because let's get honest, it's like Tiger King. They're all villains,
Yeah. Did you have how did you first see Clue? Was it like a video? Was it a like what?
It was a VHS tape. Yeah, I remember my mom for, I think it was like my 7th birthday. I think we got a VCR, and then I don't know if you remember Columbia House, but it was this right away catalog where you could get like 10 videos for a penny. But then you had to buy more throughout the year to kind of like justify your membership. So I remember we got like this shipment of all these videos, and I believe Clue was one of those videos. And I'm telling you, it got the most use in that VCR. I'm shocked I didn't wear it out.
Yeah, so it just like would have played the different endings just after each other.
Oh yeah, it just exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. What is there a line you've improv'd on Superstore that you're particularly proud of?
Yes. In season 1, it was the all-nighter episode, and Mateo is agreeing to give Dina a makeover, and he says, "Trust me." And she responds, "It's just so hard to trust ever since my dad left me at that gas station when I was a kid." And the reason I am proud of that line is because then it became canon. They used it in the episode, and then all of a sudden it became this well that Dina, both the writers and myself, could go to throughout the seasons because that nugget of information that she had been abandoned by her father, first of all, I feel like says so much. It puts so much into perspective about who Dina is and why she is who she is. But it was kind of a fun well to kind of get to mine over time. And then it, of course, led to an amazing episode in season 5 where Dean Norris guest starred as my dad, which is an episode I was really excited about and really proud of. I was really proud of the work that we did. And Dean was like an amazing scene partner, just truly such a great guy, so funny, such a great dramatic actor. It was really it was a nice moment in my career. I think that's one that I will remember, in the winter of my life when I look back. That will definitely be a moment I remember.
Yeah. If you could give Dina any advice, what advice would you give her?
If I could give Dina any advice, I would probably say slow down, stop panicking in general. Don't sweat so much of the small stuff. I think she might hit me if I was in person and she said that to me, though. I would say, everything's going to work out just fine. I think that's something that Dina often needs to hear and doesn't know how to verbalize. I feel like her kind of meticulous nature and her militaristic nature is kind of a symptom of control, of wanting to control things, of wanting everything to be okay. And I think what's really great is towards the end of this season, we're in the run out right now. The last few episodes of season 5, we get to see her in a relationship with Brian the vet, played by Rory Scovel, who's hilarious. But we kind of get to see this different side of her where, again, it kind of puts into perspective that it's like, wow, when you see her a little bit vulnerable, you start to see that it's like, she's just a scared little puppy who just wants to make sure that everything's going to work out how it's supposed to work out, So if I could give Dina any advice, it would just be slow down, smell the roses, have a cup of coffee. You're going to be okay.
Yeah. Obviously, you can't tell us much about the final and what happens in the season final, but if you were to describe the final in 3 words, which 3 words would you use?
Well, it's interesting because we got preempted. So we didn't actually get to shoot the finale that had been written because we got shut down due to the pandemic. So episode 21 of the season is going to be the finale. And I'm truthfully in this moment talking as I'm stalling, trying to remember what happened. Okay, yes. Oh, okay, yes. 3 words. Okay. Friendship, heartache, resolution. Those are the 3 words. Yeah. Great.
You could get some resolution even though it wasn't meant to be the final episode.
Yes. Again, I use that word meaning not full resolution, but
of course.
Will see, what's happening and they'll see the resolution that's coming. Yeah. Yeah.
That's fantastic. My last question for you, Lauren, is if you could get anything from what would be your favorite purchase from a big box superstore?
Ooh, well, I should let you know that Target is my favorite store in the world.
There you go.
I love it so much. I'm wearing only clothes from Target right now.
There you go.
If I could get anything, though, from a big box store, it's tough. What I love at Target is the little area when you first go in the store and there's all the little bins and they've got like little notepads and bundles of erasers and stuff and like finger puppets. And like, I just love the kind of stocking stuffer area of the store that lives year round. That's fun to me. I don't use those things for the most part, but sometimes they'll have like, they'll have sassy tea towels. They have got sassy sayings on them and stuff, like margarita time is all the time or something. That's nice. So I do love that area of the store. But if there's one item that I could choose, man, it would probably be a really nice vacuum. I know that's boring, but my vacuum is not great, and I really want to kick it up a notch. Maybe that's going to be a Christmas gift to myself later this year.
There you go. Well, Lauren, thanks for chatting with us. For those watching this interview, you can watch more interviews with celebrities and TV stars at goldderby.com, where you can also log on to make your predictions for the Emmy Awards that are coming up later this year and compete with experts and users from around the world. Also, join in our forums and chat there. Again, Lauren, thanks so much for chatting with us about Superstore. And look, we even got to talk about Clue for a bit.
It was a joyful morning. Thank you for your time.